and welcome to the Unbreakables podcast. My name is Crystal Carter, and I am your host. I am very glad you are here. This podcast was created for women and men who are healing from divorce or anyone walking through a life changing or traumatic season that has turned your world upside down. Maybe it's your marriage ended, maybe you lost someone you love, maybe it's your health, your finances, or an identity shifted in a way that you didn't expect. And now you find yourself asking, who am I now? How do I rebuild? And will I ever love life again? This podcast exists to remind you of one powerful truth. You are not broken and you will become unbreakable. Now, today's topic, we're going to talk about what the meaning of unbreakable is. So let's take a moment and let me explain a little bit about where that title came from. Before we go any further, let me clearly say being unbreakable does not mean you will never be hurt and you will never hurt. It doesn't mean you won't cry. It doesn't mean you won't feel your loss. Being unbreakable means you choose to keep going, even when life has tried to stop you in your tracks and the journey has turned your world upside down. That's what unbreakable means. Let me give you a little bit about my story. There was a season in my life when everything I thought was solid wasn't. My identity had to be re-examined. Things I had not imagined turned completely a different direction. And the pain that forced me to slow down and really face myself took me a minute to really get there. So I had two choices, either stay stuck with the broken me or do the hard work and start healing and rebuilding. Healing isn't healing doesn't just happen overnight. Healing takes time. Healing is intentional. In order to heal, you must do the work. I leaned in on my faith. I leaned in on my family. I allowed myself to feel but not rush the process. I allowed myself to stop and understand what was going on in my world and how it was happening. So, this journey is the foundation of my book. That journey became the foundation of my book, How to Heal, Rebuild, and Love Life Again After Divorce. In this book, I actually put a lot of tools and resources that I use to help me on my journey, as well as I included some information from others who have went on a similar journey. So what does unbreakable really mean? Let's take a moment and redefine unbreakable together. Unbreakable doesn't mean untouched. It doesn't mean it means transformed. So when you're unbreakable, you're not untouched. It doesn't mean you didn't go through something, you didn't feel something. What it means is that, okay, I've been through something, but I've been transformed. Okay? Unbreakable doesn't mean you can't be hurt. You will get hurt again. But the thing is that you'll be stronger because of the situations that you've healed from. You'll be better. I used to think about an old show that used to come on called The $6 Million Man, and he had what they considered bionics. Nowadays, it's probably outdated. But anyway, when they rebuilt this person, the bionic man, they made him stronger, better, faster. When you become unbreakable, you become that person that when things come at you, it bounces, and you may feel it a little bit, but it doesn't impact you the way it would have had you not built up this muscle. Also, unbreakable, like I mentioned before, it says you will not, you'll still get hurt. I have still gotten hurt, even though I've been through my journey. Strength does not come without pain. Have you ever worked out and your muscles from working out are sore and they hurt? Well, when you're exercising, that soreness, that pain that you're feeling is part of that muscle rebuilding itself into a stronger, leaner body part. So when you're unbreakable, it doesn't mean that you can't get hurt, but once you build up the strength to handle it and to walk through it, you're a stronger and way better person. Another point I want to make is healing isn't linear. There's no set time or amount of time, but how long should it take for me to heal from this? This isn't a wound or something that you can put a clock on. This is where healing takes time. And what you're going to discover as you go on this journey is that there's sometimes you have a little like mini relapses. Earlier this year, I had a dear friend of mine pass away suddenly. And every time, I took time to heal and I felt the pain of that loss, and it was a lot. But then, over time, it started not to hurt so much. And the pain and the pain, the ache of the pain went away. But then the other day, I had a phone call with a friend, and the memory of that person that I lost came back. And I had to choose how to handle that moment. Do I handle that moment in pain or do I handle that moment with joy and acknowledge the joy that that person brought to my life? And when I chose to handle it in joy, that moment that I thought about that person, that brief ache that was there was replaced by laughter and smiles because I thought of all the good things about that person. So there's no time frame of how long should it take for you to be able to do this or that, or the amount of time you should spend working on this area or that area. Everyone has their own clock, and there's no real rules. The rules that apply to you are only the rules that you set, and you have to go from there. But as you start to heal and you start to rebuild yourself, you're going to see that the pain lessens and lessons, and that there are times where things will seem fine, and then you have these little brief moments, like I just mentioned, and you realize, you know what? It's okay to have that moment. It's okay to remember that person. It's okay to remember to have a momentary relapse, but then remember the main part of becoming unbreakable is getting back up and it's healing and it's moving on. Another item that I want to point out to you about with this on this particular topic is going to be faith and action work together. The Bible tells you that faith without works is dead. Very true statement. If you're saying that you're believing God for a house, and this is one of the things I personally did. I was believing God for a house, and I kept saying that I have faith, God's going to give me a house. But if I hadn't started getting my credit together and setting the money to side and getting things in order to buy that house, I'd be still saying I'm buying a house, sleeping on somebody else's couch. So you have to put your faith to work. Now, as you go through this podcast, so even as you read my book, you're going to know that I firmly believe in God. That's my faith. I share my faith with you all, and I want people to know who God is and see his light through me, through the amazing things that he's done in my life. But I will not be beating you over the head with the Bible, going, come to Jesus, come to Jesus, come to Jesus. You're never gonna hear me say that. But my faith has carried me through this. When you think about your faith, and I think about my faith with Jesus, I have prayer has been so very powerful. Prayer has helped me so much by being able to sit and have a conversation with Jesus and talk to him um, about what's going on in my heart and praying for guidance and support and direction. There are so many things that have happened on my journey that I don't see how anything else could have provided that item other than God and Jesus. So you want to have exercise your faith while you're going through this journey because your faith and prayer, it's going to support you. It's going to give you someone to talk to that's not going to give you back all these opinions about what they think and how they feel about certain things. You really want to take a moment and and sit down and talk to God and then be still to hear his answers. So you have to Have a faith, something that you believe in, a higher power. Mine is Jesus and God. Those are the ones that I've chosen. And then you have to put action. Saying you want something and not doing anything to get it doesn't work because you're putting effort behind it. So if you're saying you want a house, like I did, then I had to start going, well, how am I going to get the house? What do I need in order to have a house? I had to have my credit together, had to have my money together. I had to understand what the process was and do my homework. So by me putting in my faith that, Lord, I want this house, and then turn around and putting in my actions with it, that gave me the very thing I was looking for. So, and then actually, which is hilarious, I mentioned the house thing. I kept saying, I'm going to buy me a house. I'm going to buy me a house. And then eventually, I got the house. I asked God for it. Now, here's the thing. When you're praying about something, be specific. Don't just say, well, I just want a house. I don't really care what it is. No, tell Jesus about the house you want so you get what you want. Um, my running joke is I should have said I wanted a house with a working fireplace because I got a house that had everything in it. It had a fireplace, just didn't work. So I had to figure out how to around it. But so it's like talk when you're talking to God about your prayers, when you're praying and you're talking about the different things that you want in your life, and you're saying that you believe that these things are going to happen. You're like, I believe I'm going to become a stronger and better person. What are you doing to be a stronger, better person? If you're still wallowing in the pain and the hurt of what happened and not doing anything else to make yourself a better person, it's not going to happen. You got to do the work. The next subject I want to take a moment to talk about is you get to build a better you. Now, when you think about it, books have editions. There's the first edition, second edition, sometimes even the fourth and fifth edition. And that's okay because when you're thinking about rebuilding you, you are thinking about, I want to rebuild the next version of me that comes out of this situation, whether it be, like I said, a divorce, whether it's some life-changing situation that or season that you're going through. When you get a chance to rebuild a bigger, I'm saying bigger and better you, you're the next edition of yourself. How cool is it to take this version of you that you're looking at now that just went through all this stuff and look at who you were and who you and then go, I'm going to list this out and now let's see, what do I want me to be? Who do I want me to be? What does that look like? What does the next version of me really look like? And when you think about what the next version of you really looks like, awesome. So now you get to rebuild a bigger, better version of yourself. Now, there's some questions I want to give you to as you go through this. And this is a similar exercise that I did for myself. I actually made a list of who I was at this current space. And the thing requires, honey, it requires you to be honest. The two things you're not going to outrun, yourself and Jesus. You're going to always have to deal with yourself, and you're going to always have to deal with Jesus, because if you lie to yourself and you lie to Jesus, both of you are right there and you both know you're lying. So this does require you to be honest with you. You don't have to share this information with anybody. This is strictly for you to work on you and you to get better. So what you want to do is make a list. I had a whole list of things about me. And then I decided from this list, what do I like on this list? That's the stuff I keep. What do I not like? That's the stuff I get to change. This creates that opportunity for you to now rebuild you in a way better version than you ever thought possible. Now, I want to take a moment and I want to talk about some reflection and journal prompts that may help you as you're going through. As you listen to this episode, there's some questions and things that you may want to take a moment and go through these to kind of help you figure out, your next steps after listening to this particular episode. The first thing you want to do is ask yourself the question, what has this season tried to break in you? Again, you cannot outrun yourself. or Jesus. You two are the two that y'all are stuck with. So if you look at it and be honest about what did this try to break in me? And for me, at one point in time, I saw where that season tried to steal my fire. And the fire meaning my passion for things that I loved. It really tried to steal my fire. And I'm like, no, I'm holding on to that. But then there were some things in me that showed up that I didn't like about that season. So me being honest with me helped me be able to better answer this question for myself and be able to move forward. Now, another question I want you to take a moment and talk about is an answer for yourself is where do you feel the most disconnected from yourself right now? What do you feel that it's got you like completely unplugged from who you think you are or who you're supposed to be? If you don't feel like you're in alignment of what you're supposed to be doing, what is that thing that's got you unaligned? What is that thing that's got you disconnected or that's unplugged? We need to find the cord and plug it back in. Uh, Now, another question I want to have you take a moment and answer for yourself is what would healing look like for you? If you were able to be healed through this situation, what does life on the other side of it look like? So I was like, I can see where I'm at right now. But when I get to where I want to go, is the sun shining, are the birds chirping, is there music and harp playing in the background? You know, what does that look like? Are you successful? Have you, been able to turn some things in your life that were going in the wrong direction in the right direction? Have you finally gotten that career going that you've been trying to get going, but because of things that have happened before, it stopped you? You need to picture what does that look like on the other side of this? And then that's what you're shooting for is that picture. That picture may only be a reality in your mind right now, but the whole goal is to work to make that picture real. Now, there's just one more step I want to ask you about. What one thing can you do this week towards rebuilding? This whole process is not even an elephant, it's a herd of elephants. This whole process is a lot, and I know from going through it myself, it's a lot. But here's the thing. You can only eat an elephant. You can eat a whole elephant, a bite at a time. So if I take that one step and I master that to where I'm good, I know this one step is done and I'm set now, I'm ready to build in the next one. But think about for this week, take one step. And then every week as you go, every time as you go on this journey, as you master that step, you continue to step up and move on. It will be so amazing what you're able to do and how far you're going to see your journey is taking you. So those are the main things I wanted to take a moment and talk to you about in this podcast. We talked about how healing is not linear. We talked about rebuilding yourself. And we talked about what this healing looked like. So with this episode, first of all, I thank you all for hanging out and enjoying this episode. I hope you found some of the information that I shared today very helpful to you. I want to invite you to subscribe to the podcast, the Unbreakables podcast. I want you to share this episode with somebody who you're able to help or encourage that needs the encouragement. Sometimes what you hear is not necessarily for you. It may be for somebody that ends up being connected to you. And if you haven't already purchased your copy of the book, I want to encourage you to purchase your copy of the book, Unbreakable: How to Heal, Rebuild, and Love Life Again. Remember, you are not unbreakable because you can't get hurt. You are unbreakable because you bounce back. This podcast is your space to heal, rebuild, and love life again. You are not behind. You are not broken. And most of all, you are not alone. Until next time, choose healing. I'm your host, Crystal Carter, and I look forward to seeing you on future episodes.